It was a cold, misty evening as David drove down the long, desolate stretch of highway. The road ahead seemed to stretch into infinity, disappearing into the thick fog that clung to the ground like a shroud. The only sounds were the hum of the tires on the asphalt and the occasional rattle of the car's old engine. David had been driving for hours, leaving the bustling city behind in search of some peace and quiet at his cabin in the woods. The headlights of his car cut through the fog, barely illuminating the road ahead. He'd been driving for miles without seeing another soul. He knew this road well. It was remote and rarely traveled at night. The few cars that passed seemed to be in a hurry, rushing through the night as though they were escaping something. David had always preferred solitude, and this trip was no different. The silence of the night was a welcome escape from the noise of everyday life. But as he rounded a sharp bend, something caught his eye. A figure, standing by the side of the road, appeared out of nowhere. It was a woman, dressed in a dark coat and holding out her thumb, trying to catch a ride. David slowed the car, unsure at first. Hitchhikers were rare on this road, and it struck him as odd that someone would be standing out there in the cold mist at this late hour. He considered driving past, but something about her posture, the way she looked so lost and forlorn, made him hesitate. His instincts told him she needed help. He pulled over, and the woman approached the car slowly. She had long, dark hair that framed her face, which was pale and ghostly in the dim light. Her eyes were wide and almost frantic, as though she had been waiting for hours. She was shivering, and David could see that she was visibly cold. "Thank you," she said in a soft voice, her breath misting in the cool air. "I've been stranded here for so long. Can you take me to the next town?" David nodded, offering a warm smile. "Of course, get in." The woman didn't hesitate. She climbed into the passenger seat, and David noticed how light she was, almost too light. He glanced at her, then at the road ahead, feeling a slight unease creeping over him. The fog seemed to thicken as they drove, the world outside the car shrinking to a blur of gray. "Where are you headed?" David asked, trying to make small talk to ease the tension. "I'm just trying to get home," the woman replied quietly. "I've been on the road for hours, and I just want to get to my family." David nodded again, though he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't quite right. Her voice seemed distant, and her answers were vague. But he didn't press her for details. He'd picked up hitchhikers before, and they often had their reasons for being out there late at night. For several minutes, there was nothing but the sound of the car's engine and the occasional creak of the wheels on the wet road. Then, the woman spoke again, her voice softer now, as if she was speaking more to herself than to him. "I shouldn't be here, should I?" she said, almost to herself. David frowned, glancing over at her. "What do you mean? I've been waiting for so long, and I don't know why I'm here." She sounded confused, almost as though she were lost in thought.